It's not a cult or anything as ominous as that. They're a band. They've been around for over a decade, and they've sell out concert halls both here and abroad. They've had a big album out called The Fire of Unknown Origin, and off it has come a single entitled Burning for You. Please welcome New York's own Blue Oyster Cult.
Many know Blue Oyster Cult, or Blue Oyster Cult, with the umlaut, those two dots, as the creators of such songs as Don't Fear the Reaper, Burning for You, and many others such as The Last Days of May or the novelty song Godzilla, or as the dad rock band your father plays on his old vinyls. But before there was Blue Oyster Cult, there was the Stock Forest Group, and before that they were Oaxaca, and before that Soft White Underbelly, an odd evolution, all intended by rock critic turned band producer Sandy Pearlman, who managed the band from its Long Island origins. Pearlman wanted an American equivalent to Black Sabbath, music with mystique and allusions to the occult. So committed to the gimmick, he wanted to give each member an alter ego stage name. Buck Dharma, legal name Donald Rogier, was the only one that stuck though. Still, the cult became one of the major American precursors to the metal genre. The early years at Stony Brook University in New York, from 1967 to 1971, attracted a lot of odd characters to the band, all looking for a part in the project. But it was one of the most important and most obscure that branded Blue Oyster Cult with their legendary logo and possibly the influential umlaut, an artist who became an infamous legend even among the band, Bill Gawlik. In architecture, or maybe art and design, major for Rhode Island, Bill's signature art graced the covers of the band's first two albums, but by the mid-70s, he vanished, lost to both the public and the band. Literally, nobody, not even the band, knows where he is today. Only one picture and a string of stories attest the occult wonder of the artist known as Bill Gawlik. In a departure from my usual topics, I'm going to look into the mystery of someone who may still be alive. Maybe, if he's still out there, somewhere, at a crossroads of questioning. Before examining who, or really what, William Gawlik was, it is important to understand his understated impact. Though only two known examples of Gawlik's work survive, the cover of Blue Oyster Cult's self-titled album, Blue Oyster Cult, which displays... well, I'm not exactly sure what that is. It is supposed to be part of a city, though, and the follow-up album, inadvertently named by Gawlik, Tyranny and Mutation, a sketch of a monstrous structure with what may be rails running in the background, both done in ink on paper, which may have been butcher paper. Both are extracts from the legendary, now lost, Gawlik scrolls, 100-foot long, 3-foot wide scrolls the neurotic Gawlik would spend filling up with magic marker diagrams. Rolls of butcher paper, long as a building, the impoverished Gawlik may have snatched from a butcher shop. The only known pieces from these scrolls are the covers of Blue Oyster Cult and Tyranny and Mutation. They are the only known remnants of Gawlik's art, pieces from his master thesis, The City of the Future Masters, an occult image of future America. After the success of the first album in 1972, Pearlman commissioned Gawlik to craft the cover of the follow-up album, which he did through psychotic highs and lows. Despite their affinity, Gawlik began to stonewall Pearlman on the art as the due date approached. One day, at Gawlik's freezing apartment, the manager found the artist repeatedly flipping through the same records. Gawlik said about the noise, "This music is like Tyranny and Mutation," then continued, to Pearlman, declared, "You know what you must do? Turn up the air conditioning on the group so the studio is freezing cold, and don't let anyone leave till it's finished. By the way, I have a name for this album, Tyranny and Mutation." The neurotic Gawlik devolved from there. While Pearlman liked his work, the artist refused to make edits. Things as simple as shading and color. He refused to add shade/shadows to Blue Oyster Cult, and then nearly had a breakdown when Pearlman wanted him to add red to the cover of Tyranny and Mutation. After that, the band was hesitant about the odd artisan. Gawlik apparently suffered bouts of insomnia, could not afford heat, and would starve himself during hours-long designing sessions. According to what the band remembers, that is. As Keith Gerson's collected information on hotrails.co.uk attests about Gawlik, the band found him exploding with ideas about cosmology, World War II, and social transformation. And that's the problem with anything definite on Gawlik. Gerson's collected anecdotes, stories, and interviews about Gawlik are great and the best resource on him, but they are stories, all decades old from current and former Blue Oyster Cult band members. Memories fade. Nobody has any personal information on Gawlik, really. Sources cannot even agree if Gawlik was an art and design major or an architecture major. His City of the Future Masters, or Master's Thesis, was designed, supposedly, on the principles of ruins values/ruins architecture. The idea of what a building will look like in a decayed or destroyed state. A modernist attempt to ape the aesthetic value of Greco-Roman ruins. A perfect theory for the New Age World War II obsessed student. A theory first articulated by Nazi architect Albert Speer. A factoid adding to Gawlik's occult fringe personality, though it is not known if Gawlik was actually inspired by Speer. The comparison was not uncommon between the band members in the 70s, though. Gawlik's special ability seems to have been as both bizarre and obscure as possible, and obscure he was. When was Gawlik born? Who were his parents? When did he graduate? And is he still alive? No information, though probably in Rhode Island. Was/is he even real? Probably, unless he was some decades-long conspiracy by Blue Oyster Cult. Joe Weisenthal snapped the only picture of him at the band's house in the 70s. The issue is Gawlik is long gone. Not that his name helps. It is Gawlik, not Gawlik. Garlic, Gawlik, Golik. Kurth Gerson confirmed it as William/Bill Gawlik, but internet searches turn up next to nothing. There's been Gawliks with multiple name varieties in Rhode Island since the 1700s, so it's safe to say Gawlik is a Rhode Island native, and according to Pearlman in 2005, likely still alive. How did this mystery man then get involved with the aptly titled Blue Oyster Cult then? Oral history states Gawlik transferred into Stony Brook University, alma mater of the cult, in either 1968 or 1969. From where? Either Parsons School of Design in Rhode Island or the Pratt Institute in Brooklyn. Supposedly, Gawlik was a student of the architect William Katavalos at the Pratt Institute. Katavalos did and does pioneer a field of liquid architecture, but there's more info on Katavalos than there is on Gawlik. While nobody knows for sure, Gawlik, student or not, seems to have been heavily inspired by the futurist design philosophy of Katavalos. Perhaps where Bill picked up on Speer's theories. Even Gawlik's stay at SBU is fuzzy. Official articles on the website have no idea when or if Gawlik even graduated. Under an alumni reunion article, which Gawlik did not attend, his name is listed alongside other Blue Oyster Cult alumni, but his name has no marked date of graduation unlike his cohorts. There was no mention of him in any yearbook from the 70s either. The only proof he attended Stony Brook is a mention in the March 21st, 1969 issue of the Statesman magazine. It states, as the oldest source on Gawlik, among the nouveau art forms is William Gawlik's Beatles, John, Paul, and Ringo, a three-paneled abstract watercolor, which although looking more like Stars and Stripes Forever, is one of the standouts of the exhibit, if only for its size alone. Gawlik's accidental occultic links do not end there, though. Being a resident of Providence, Gawlik, at the Rhode Island School of Design, lived downhill from the intersection of Benefit and Angel Street, Lovecraft's place of habitation when alive, and current place of his memorial. To add to the ghoulish implication, the starving artist Gawlik lived in a heatless apartment above a Hispanic clothes store on 14th Street. The garret where he would, freezing and starving, lock himself into for hours working on his scrolls. The place where he produced the famous Hook and Cross logo, or the Cross of Questioning used by Blue Oyster Cult, his greatest contribution to the band's lore, a symbol of unknown origin. Anyone else feel some serious Pickman's model vibes here? Gawlik's timeline ran as such up until working for the softboy underbelly turned Blue Oyster Cult. In 1968, he transfers into the Stony Brook Masters program. In 1969, he's mentioned in The Statesman and meets Weisenthal. In 1970, he moves into the apartment on 14th Street, meets Pearlman, and begins to work for the band. By 1971, he's working as a taxi driver and possibly living in the band house on Vanderbilt Highway. Before then, he lived in an apartment owned by a Geza Zarkani at some point, a sort of multi-room art studio where Gawlik liked to smoke weed and listen to music, where he may have came up with the phrase tyranny and mutation, due to constant sound. We know Gawlik began associating with the band through Pearlman, but if he lived with them is unclear. The insomniac Gawlik definitely spent nights there drawing and hanging his work in the living room, but he could have simply slept there between taxi shifts in NYC and Long Island. It's not really clear. We know Joe Weisenthal snapped the photo of Gawlik between 70 and 71, and Albert Bouchard, the band's drummer, remembered Gawlik enough to talk about him in an interview in 2016, as seen here.
So, the only thing that it was presented to us, and we thought it was fantastic. Just straight up. We'd never seen anything like it. It was kind of op art a little bit, it had it was just the coolest looking thing. And this was originally not a circle, it was a big landscape, and Bill Gawlik had done it for, I think he was a graduate student, running as part of the thesis was a huge city of the future. So this was going to be part of the city of the future, as well as that part there. And that one there, that was not part of his thesis, but this was. Okay, so all of these things were part of this city of the future, and or on another planet or something like that. So, but the only thing that we had anything to do with, and this was Alan Lemire, keyboard player. Originally, he was brought to the group from John Wiesenthal because he worked with John at a video editing company. So, in the summertime. So he suggested putting the umlaut over there. Okay, so that was the only thing that we had anything to do with. I remember Gawlik getting all upset with Sandy Pearlman because Sandy said, "You've got to put some shading in here." So you notice he put this weird shade on the side, to make it look like there was a light coming from, I guess, from this angle. So that was what Sandy contributed to that. But all the rest was gone. Done the whole thing. This, of course, he did the whole. It was really good. And he came up with this logo. He said, "You guys need a logo." So he made the logo. And then eventually Sandy realized that, this looks a little bit like some alchemical symbol or some, astrological symbol. So, just that story, that myth has been perpetrated. But it was really Gawlik.
Now, of course, this is 1972.
Joe Bouchard, Albert's brother, claims Gawlik was at the house by mid-April 1972. Why? The band's bassist remembers Gawlik well. Bouchard's famous Hot Rails to Hell story and song was inspired by a subway trip he took with Gawlik that year. One night, in April 1972, Joe Bouchard and Gawlik took the New York subway to a Lena Horne concert. Bouchard was instantly perturbed traveling with the off Gawlik in a dangerous area. The number 1277, scribbled on the train's wall, inspired Bouchard to write the song. Lines like blackened out eyes scratched on a wall and flash of his cards was sprayed with red may or may not have been allusions to the often wired artist who shared the journey, though the song would not be Gawlik's last contribution to the band. As stated, Gawlik designed the famous hook and cross symbol used by the band to this day. It was not actually invented for them, though. The symbol, never named by Gawlik, was part of his City of the Future Masters. To this day, nobody knows if it means anything. Pearlman just liked it so much it became the symbol for the band. Occult mystique and all that. So, whenever you see that symbol of the Blue Oyster Cult, you're looking at a Bill Gawlik original. Another major BOC trait Gawlik was involved with was the eternal umlaut, another symbol that does not actually mean anything, but debate has raged over it for years. Gawlik is often suggested as the originator, as he had a heavy hand in the band's early aesthetic and design. Both Richard Meltzer and Alan Lehner lay claim to being its creator, and the band name that is. The website says it was officially Lehner. Why the row over it then? Because that is one influential umlaut. Many point to Blue Oyster Cult as the band that introduced the German font aesthetic that was widely adopted in later metal. A possible explanation is Meltzer or Lehner added it as a joke in reference to Gawlik's supposedly fascist leanings and fascination. But that is my theory. Only Gawlik knows for sure. So where did Gawlik end up, though? Well, by 1972, he was driving a taxi around New York. Gawlik seems to have drove by day and drawn/designed by night. Obviously, the already sleep-deprived and unstable Gawlik was not the best taxi driver. Joe Bouchard's statement on Gawlik says it the best. Bill Gawlik, he used to live in our band house, drove a taxi in the city and had a machete under his seat. True. Sandy Pearlman, when asked about Gawlik, even proposed, and he was a cab driver. That's how he paid his bills when he left Stony Brook. And when Taxi Driver came out, I really thought that Scorsese must have ridden around with Bill Gawlik. Talked to him and got the idea for the film from him. That probably tells more about Gawlik than this entire video will. It did not help Gawlik was odd-looking. Many people mentioned he had a strange, scarred face, though that could have just been people building up his mythos. Not that it helped he apparently drove his taxi wired on amphetamines between bouts of long-term isolation and starvation. Neither very beneficial to mental health. The fact he kept a machete under his seat, though understandable for a taxi driver in NYC in the 70s, gained him the attention of the New York Police Department. Around 1972 or 1973, Gawlik became a person of interest to the NYPD, possibly, according to urban legend, for involvement in an unnamed murder case. If he was guilty, a patsy, or unfortunate is unknown. Bill just had a suspect's face. If he was ever arrested is unknown too, as he literally vanished by 1973 or 1974. Justifiably disturbed by law enforcement's interest in Gawlik, Pearlman dropped Gawlik as the band's artist by 1973. From there on, there would be no more Gawlik, thus ending Blue Oyster Cult's Gawlik era. After the complications, it is unknown if Gawlik even continued designing. No more work has ever surfaced from him. He sort of drifted off by 1974. There was little to no information about him after that. He could have simply become a private citizen again, a face passed in the street. But it's odd. If anyone ever saw him again, it was likely only Pearlman, who passed away in 2016. No one else has any proof or inclination beside a vague, yeah, maybe Gawlik might still be alive somewhere out there. The man basically vanished in all regards, except being considered legally missing. No one in the band could find him, and I sure cannot. I turned up William Katavlos and even Geza Zakrani, but not Gawlik. Rumors have circulated for years about Gawlik sightings in Rhode Island. As submitted to hotrails.co.uk, a man by the name Jonathan Cohen knew Gawlik back in the 70s and may have seen him on the subway in Providence, so he still might be kicking or scrawling somewhere out there. It happened this year too, but nobody is sure if it was actually Bill. And if you see any old men with large scrolls in Rhode Island, it's a good chance of them being either an H.P. Lovecraft fan or Bill Gawlik. As Eric Bloom admitted, we really do wonder where Bill Gawlik is. I hope someone finds Gawlik one day, if he is still out there and wants to be found. He's an odd sort of Americana, an underappreciated artist with a larger and odder-than-life backstory, one that deserves at least a few seconds in the spotlight. The only mementos of his efforts are a picture, 2 album covers, and a symbol, but Gawlik survives in all of them. Him and the tantalizing promise of more. Maybe he will return to the world one day. What else could Gawlik have crafted? Are there more scrolls? More to what we already know? What truly was the city of the future masters? Does the hook and cross have some far deeper meaning? Was Gawlik really as odd as most remember? What would he look like today then? Somewhere out there has to be more Gawlik, more madness to the method. If anyone truly knows Bill, or where he went, let me know. It's an unremarked enigma.